Okay, guys, this is going to be my review of of Olympus Has Fallen. And, I was not the biggest fan. I really love action films, but I feel like the thing is about action films is it's not like I just like straight up action films. If it's just gonna be straight up action film, I'd want there to be a story. I think what kind of works is the story with the great sequences. But this was just a generic terrorist takeover a particular planet, or uh, terrorist takeover a location. Hero has to stop them, and it played very much by the books. It was a Die Hard ripoff. It was just played with similar tropes. It played with the similar tropes of Die Hard, where it's like one location, this case being the White House, the terrorist, but it missed. And the action, the thing is, it missed what made Die Hard amazing. It missed that relatable leader, the relatable hero, because he was very much an everyday person. When he's fighting, it's common everyday things like making sure to not step on the glass, get like sweating and trying to figure out a way, to get off a building that is safe and it learns lessons. He feels like a very human person and a relatable person, an everyday cop who just wants to save his family and gets in situations that everyday people get in, except he has to, kill people, and that's where the action comes in. On top of the great leads of Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman, which I feel like makes those films so great, is that mixture of the relatable lead, the stakes of the stakes that have to do with our characters personally, because his wife and kids are hostage, on top of the great comedy aspects. And I think, but that was all missing. This is not funny. There is no quips. I don't care for the villain. It is generic, and there's no personal stakes for our hero. Yes, he gets to save the White House, but it's not like there's genuine other incentive. I feel like, on a personal level, like they do, like Air Force One and like Die Hard. And I think whenever there's that relatable factor of, he has our kids hostage or wife hostage, I feel like there adds a little bit more incentive and relatability and stakes for a hero. Because going into this film, who guessed? Who would have thought that the heroes would lose? No one. Guess what? Gerard Butler didn't lose. He won. So it has to be great is everything else, is the story. And in that, the story is not there. Okay, at the beginning, our hero the president loses his wife, and him and his son has to go through the trauma of that, as well as our main character. Right? Yes, that does happen. But I think what does become, I feel like, yes, pretty lackluster, is kind of, in many ways, everything in between. It's the stuff with the lackluster nature of again, the sequence where it's like him losing the president losing his wife, in retrospect, doesn't really matter. The son doesn't, like, okay, he's in the film, but he doesn't do anything. His contribution to the film doesn't do anything. He's just there. And it just is very weird of a film, where it's like so much stuff happens that you don't really care about, because it's this. The action's there, but I'll be honest, the action is never really memorable. Like, there's like this, the opening part of the takeover was just like bombs and explosions with horrible CGI. And this only came out in 2013, and you would think there'd be better CGI at that point. But I mean, it definitely seems like a lower budget of a film, I guess. But yeah, again, like, the CGI is not terribly good. On top of the terrorists, just again, generic. I think that's probably the best way to describe this film. Generic. Everything in this film plays exactly by the books. Because they have this whole twist where one of the Secret Service agents is actually a bad guy, a terrorist, a traitor. But that was so televised. As soon as you heard him talk, and you're like, could it be any more clear? So that twist didn't shock me. It's just everything played by the books. And it never felt fresh. It always felt like an action film. Okay, so you don't have the best story. The characters are not the best. The CGI's not the best. So how good's the action? Because now we're down to the one quality of this film that has to be good. The action. And it's good. It's okay. I think some of the shootouts. But the thing is about the action, it's all the same. The thing about Die Hard, I'm gonna make the comparison to Die Hard because it's all in a similar vein, and Air Force One. What made those films feel fresh and unique, as far as in the action terms, is it wasn't always the same. Sometimes, John McClane had to, go through the air vents and shoot people and punch people in a fight on the stairs, shootouts, punch-outs, knives out, jump off a building and, shoot people on a helicopter and, fight, fist fights, knife fights, shootings. Then you also have action sequences where it's just John McClane getting out of situations, acting like a normal person. But this was like, okay, maybe it was just shootouts and shootouts and shootouts and maybe a punch or two there. But it was just all, our FBI agent or whatever going around shooting people. It felt like a video game. This film could be an awesome shooter video game where it's okay, insert Secret Service agent, and then he just shoots people, and a good shootout's good, but it's like never. The thing is, and I'll make this analogy of many things. I love steak, and I love Empire Strikes Back. But if I watch Empire Strikes Back 5 times on loop, by the 6th time I'd be sick of it. And I wouldn't want any more of me watching Empire Strikes Back. But that's my favorite film of all time. So the same thing is with a good old shootout in a film. Shootouts are great. You have someone with a gun and they shoot people. Okay, that's good and all. But you can only get so much of that. And so the same thing with steak. I love steak. But I'm not, let's not pretend I'm going to eat 3 steaks in a row. That's kind of what it feels like. It's like, okay, you have a shootout, and then you have another shootout, and then you have another shootout, and then you have another shootout. And it's like, at what point will you switch it up? Because, okay, I would get it. I would be okay if all the action was shootouts, if there was story, and there was characters that you cared about. A good story. Original story. And characters you cared about. But that is lackluster. So it has to be there. Especially with a film that seems to be solely relying on the premise of Die Hard in a White House. Well, where's the action? And not that it's absent, but the variety. I think when you do an action big action film, what a lot of them do is there's variety. But I think the problem is with this film, by setting it in the White House, that limits you to just in so many degrees. Whereas I feel like having a building limits you a little bit, but not as much as the White House, I feel like. Because I feel like with the White House, with a building, you have multiple floors and you can do sequences on different levels and on the roof and outside of the building, and you can do, crashing through 4 floors and a stair. But with the White House, it's just action sequence in this room A, action sequence in room B. You know what I mean? And versus most action films that are like a Mission Impossible and a James Bond film can take place throughout multiple locations. And I didn't feel that problem with Air Force One because I feel like there was a lot. I feel like the story was there and the action was kind of cool with Air Force One because there was the sequence with the plane. There was going from plane to plane. There was shootings and stuff. But that felt cool because it's like, okay, you have a shooting there, and then it pauses. And then you have a great, developing the conflict in the story. There's no story in this film, or at least a story that's good. And so I think that's the difference, is it's just all generic action with a generic story. And again, the key word here is absolutely generic. That's the key word. That's what it's all boiling down to. Things we've already seen before. Generic sequences. And I think sometimes when you just have a straight up action film, you're like, okay, fun for the ride. I'm sure it's going to be a great, film. Maybe not the best story, but it'll be a fun ride. But this just wasn't. The lighting was off. There was the same action sequences over and over again. Setting it in just the White House alone made it feel on a lot of a smaller scale that I didn't feel was there in Air Force One and Die Hard, and I don't know. CGI wasn't the best. I was not the biggest fan of this film. But anyways, stay tuned for more videos coming right at you.